This is an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar taking a look at third-party plugins for Final Cut Pro 10. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. Probably the best example of this is 7 to 10 for Final Cut Pro 10. What this does is it converts Final Cut Pro 6 or Final Cut Pro 7 XML files into Final Cut 10 XML format. This allows you to migrate earlier projects from Final Cut to Final Cut 10. An important note here, the only way you can migrate earlier projects into Final Cut 10 is you must export them as an XML file. Now that's true whether you go into Avid or Premiere or Final Cut 10. All three require at the start that you begin with exporting an XML file. So what this means is if there's anything that you've created in the past that you need to migrate, you want to be sure to keep a working copy of Final Cut 6 or 7 and export the project just as safety as an XML file, because that way you can always update it later. But if you can't export it as an XML file, you can't open it any other way. It's published by Intelligent Assistance at intelligentassistance.com. It's an incredible $9.99 package. It's available in the Mac App Store. And let me show you what it does. Whether you're exporting from Final Cut 7 to Premiere or Final Cut 7 to Final Cut 10, it all starts with an XML export. Here I've got a project. We've got B-roll and text. We've got talking heads, more B-roll, more text. I've got talking head audio, sound effects, and music. I have transitions on many of the clips. I've got gaps and transitions on the video. This is a standard documentary style edit. One note before we export. Notice here I've got Dr. Surf talking, and it's a mono clip. Whenever you have mono clips, you can put them on whichever track you prefer. But when you have stereo clips, you always want to be sure that a stereo clip starts on an odd number track. The stereo clip starts on A1 or A3 or A5. This does not necessarily make a big difference in Final Cut 10, but it does make a big difference in Premiere. So as a habit, I always start a stereo clip on an odd number track. Once you've got the project ready to go, select the project up here in the browser. If you want to select everything, Command A, you're going to export everything. In my case, I just want to export this one project, so select it. Go up to the File menu, go down to Export, and choose XML. In this dialog, you always want to select the version of XML that is the highest for that version of Final Cut. For instance, Final Cut 7 supports version 5, Final Cut 6 supports version 4. Always select the highest version XML that version of Final Cut supports. If you want to include clips which are not in the project but in the browser, you check this top checkbox. This will export virtually everything that's in the browser. In my case, I only want to export those clips that are in the project, so I'm not going to check this checkbox. The bottom checkbox should always be checked. I can't think of a single reason where it makes sense to uncheck it. So if I'm exporting a single project, select the project in the browser, choose the highest level of XML that Final Cut supports, uncheck the top checkbox, and check the bottom checkbox. When you're done, click OK. We're going to call this Dr. Surf Export and click Save. The hard part is editing your project. The easy part is converting it. Grab that XML file and drag it on top of 7 to 10 for Final Cut Pro. It translates the clips and gives you a choice of whether you want to save an XML file or send the file to Final Cut 10. The default is send it to 10. We'll click OK. Final Cut automatically starts, and we see this dialog. In this case, I want to create a new library, not add it to an existing library, so I'll say New. It says, what are you going to call it? Dr. Surf Documentary, and click Save. And there is your project. All your clips are loaded into the browser, and at the very top is the project itself with the same name as we used inside Final Cut 7. Double-click it to open it up into the timeline. All of our different audio clips are intact, and our text is intact. Although the formatting has changed, the text itself is the same. So we have to go back and reset formatting. Talking head came in perfectly. All of our transitions also came in perfectly. When you're transferring projects via XML from Final Cut 7 to any other application, your media will transfer with no problem, your edits will transfer no problem, your transitions, such as dissolves, no problem, the text will transfer but the formatting will not, and assume that most of your effects will not transfer. Some will, in which case you can be pleasantly surprised, but most effects, because the effects engines are different from Final Cut 7 to Final Cut 10 to Premiere, because the effects engines are different, the effects themselves will need to be reset. The program is 7 to 10, and it's published by Intelligent Assistance. This has been an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar taking a look at third-party plugins in Final Cut Pro 10. For the complete version of this online training, please visit our store at larryjordan.biz/store and look for Webinar 129. By the way, membership is a great value when you need to stretch your training dollars. A subscription membership to our video training library saves you money. You can access all of our videos for a low monthly price of only $19.99. That's more than 700 movies, dozens of hours of training, all in depth and all up to date. Plus, members can attend any of our Power Up webinars for free. Our training covers Apple and Adobe software. We update it every week, and for more information, visit larryjordan.biz/subscriptions.